This episode of the Operatory podcast is brought to you by Opera VR Digital Nitrous, the immersive patient anxiety melting experience proven to be as effective as nitrous oxide with no drugs. True drug-free sedation with Opera VR. Go to digitalnitrous.com. Welcome to the Operatory podcast, the podcast about burying the dinosaurs in dentistry, moving past outdated technology and procedures to find a better way. With me, as always, providing the very, very, very important patient perspective is my man, David Pryor. How are you doing, sir?
Hey there, Brian. I'm doing pretty good. Don't have any Mountain Dew today, so it might be rough.
Are you sick?
We'll see.
Oh, you're sick. All right. I'm just kidding. But we have also with us an incredibly special guest. Super happy to have Laura from Front Office Rocks, now Back Office Rocks too. Laura Hatch, thank you for being on the podcast.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Likewise. So we've met a couple times, totally impressed with what you do, but I do not want to explain what you do to our audience because you do quite a few things. And so could you just tell us a little bit of kind of history of how you got to where you are, and you've been working on some really cool things now. So I would just love to kind of let you explain to our audience about Front Office Rocks and what you do.
Sure, for sure. So I stumbled into dentistry, most like many of us in the front office. My background's actually human resources and organizational development. So I'm focused on personnel training. I was a recruiter and in sales. And I met a guy in undergrad who went to dental school, and that's how I took the office manager dental path. So I got pulled into dentistry, like many people from different industries, not knowing anything about teeth or numbers or clinical things, but I knew, systems and customer service and processes, and have built and ran 2 scratch practices, one on the East Coast and one on the West Coast. And over the years, what I've determined and found with our industry is that there was a lot of training and attention and focus on the clinical side of things. Dentists go to clinical training, the hygienist assistants get the clinical training, but there really wasn't a lot of attention or training with regards to the front office team, both for new hire training. Overall in our industry, we're really bad at new hire training, and hence we have a lot of turnover in dental offices. And then also just continual training. Doctors will go away to a seminar, learn huge case procedures or go get a CEREC or some great piece of technology, and then they bring it back to the office and the team doesn't know how to implement it or how to talk about it because they're not trained behind it. So I knew there was something missing in our industry. I didn't want to be a consultant. I'm an office manager. I'm in the trenches. But I knew that what we were missing was really training of the front office team. I named my business Front Office Rocks because I feel like the front office were rock stars. We're the first and last impression for every patient experience. And we really needed to not only have a voice, but also have training and opportunities for us to grow and improve. So about 6 years ago, I sat down. I'd work all day. I'd look around at all the things we do in the front, and then I would make training videos. Why do we do this? Why do we do that? How do we do confirmation calls? How do we, fill the schedule? How do we talk to patients about their bills? And I started filming videos. It was kind of at the beginning, at least in our industry, for the idea of online learning. So I kind of am cutting edge with regards to that. But basically what we have is an online subscription-based website that has over 300 videos plus webinars, documents, articles, all related to the front office. Just recently, about 3 or 4 months ago, we added back office training also. So now we focus on really helping the offices improve their customer service, improve their verbal skills, give the patient an amazing experience both in the front and the back. Because I feel that patients don't know that you're a good dentist or not. They just know how they feel when you're in the office, and your team is vital in that. So I really focus on helping the offices in the office on their time. It's all on the internet. It's available when they need it to be a resource to help them improve in that area.
Well, thanks. And you mentioned a lot of things that we talk about on this podcast, frankly, like the importance of the front office, the importance of, we literally just did a podcast about customer service and how that's and patient experience. I mean, that's why we have
Yep.
some guy who's a patient here on the podcast every time, right? But I feel like the front office is so underappreciated. Not underappreciated, yes, but I mean, there's a lack of focus on the front office.
Yep.
And I think as a dentist, it's because we as dentists want to just go back and fix teeth. And if it's in the hygiene realm, if it's in the assisting realm, it's like, well, that's my realm. But that person up
Right.
at the front has that covered. Do you kind of agree with that?
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of different issues. So I'm really close with a lot of dentists, of course, because I was married to a dentist for a super long time, and there's a lot of, I know that dentists, they just want to go and do dentistry. Just let me do dentistry, and you do understand what an assistant should be doing and what a hygienist should be doing, but a lot of dentists don't really even know what should be happening up front. They walk past the front and they cross their fingers and say, I hope that's what she's supposed to be saying, or I hope that's how they're supposed to be confirming, and there's not enough time in the day a lot of times to learn all this. They didn't teach it in dental school. And on the flip side, not to put everything on the dentist, but many times we hire team members who came from other dental offices, and this is just the way we've always done it. And I already know it all. And it gets really difficult, I think, if it's an area that you really don't understand and know, and then you go up and kind of ask questions and get some resistance, there's a wall between the front and the back, between the doctor and the front office. So I'm trying to lower that wall. I'm trying to get the dentist to understand a little bit more of what should be happening up front and get the front office team to realize how important they are, because sometimes they minimize themselves, or maybe they get so set in their ways they're not willing to learn. So I'm trying to change their perception too of, the idea of continual training and continual growing and learning.
Yeah, and I mean, I think ultimately it comes down to the fact that as a dentist, if you are an owner of your practice, right, you are not
Right.
just a dentist. You're running a business, and you have to give the people in your business adequate training. That's not just half the business, the half that you're in. It's the other half too, right? And I think that's
Yep.
that's missing. Like, dentists do not take the responsibility of training the front office as much because they don't view they view it as a business, but they don't. They kind of want that piece to take care of itself, just because we all have blind spots and areas that we want to focus on versus not. And in sort of the world that we deal with a lot with Opera DDS and Opera VR, I always tell people, like, with paperless forms, they ignore the sort of soul-sucking work that's going on up at the front desk with scanning and shredding and all of that. So I tell dentists, I'm like, do me a favor. When you go back to your office, take any patient and just process the forms yourself, right? And then
Right.
you'll kind of like, oh my gosh, what am I having people do? And that's like going on all over, from answering the phone to everything that goes on at the front desk. If any dentist had to do it, we'd lose our minds.
I think a lot of times I joke around that dentists, when your name's on the wall, right? And they say, "Oh, the team works for me." But if you don't know what everybody's doing in their positions, and you're not at least leading them, ultimately you just work for them, And I have a lot of dentists who will come to me and sign up for my website on a Sunday night or a Monday morning because they're finally at the spot where either somebody just quit and they have no idea what's going on up front. Or they're realizing that this is the business side of your business. You can do dentistry all day long, but if you're not getting paid, if they're writing things off, if they're not handling the phones well, then ultimately you're working for them.
Right. Well, and from the patient side of things, this is Dave. From the patient side of things, you're the first person we interact with
Yep.
when we come in there. And so when Brian was bringing up the forms, you're saying have the dentist process the forms. Imagine from the patient side when they've got to come in there and fill out 5 forms with 3 kids pulling at their legs. And I always think of if the dentist could only see what that front desk is going through in a day,
Right.
and sat there and watched what is going on, they would have a much, much greater respect. And I think the word you were looking for earlier, Brian, was it's an undervalued position.
Yes, totally.
And so the front desk is really undervalued in dentistry, and there's a huge opportunity from the customer side, from the patient side, to be able to make that an environment that's professional and energetic and make patients feel excited about being at the practice.
Well, we had
Right.
I was made aware of an issue, I think, at the front desk by a marketing person, similar, who's not in dentistry at all, where we were talking about our advanced teledentistry workflows, which make it so that, like, if somebody hasn't been at the dentist in 25 years and they know they need dental needs, but now they're ready to come in, but they probably feel some shame about it. Most, we have some workflows that people can send in their information to get sort of that safe, easy step into the practice. But if how it typically would happen is that patient who probably needs $50,000 of dental work calls the front desk. What's going on at the front desk in the average dental practice? How would you expect in the average practice to have the front desk person, the business person who picks up that phone to give that patient the adequate time that they need? I mean, it's just, if they have 12 things to do and no training, it's just going to fall by the wayside. Where can people go to find out more?
Just to frontofficerocks.com. We have everything there. On the homepage, there's some sample videos so you can kind of see a little bit about the training. The thing about our training that's different, I think, than others is it's not me talking behind a PowerPoint, like a webinar. It's actually has actors, and there's role playing, and there's the homework at the end, and there's a quiz, and we can see that the employees are doing the training. So you can see samples of that on the homepage. There's information about my book on there. You can do some search around the site. You can reach out to my team on the live chat and ask questions or schedule a demo. So everything's right at frontofficerocks.com.
Awesome. I think everybody should check it out. I'm not doing any homework, but thank you. Appreciate you very much being on the podcast.
I appreciate being on this with you guys.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
I also want to remind you to rate and review us wherever you're listening to this podcast. And if you have suggestions or comments, please visit theoperatory.com and drop us a line. Again, I'm Dr. Brian Laskin, host of The Operatory. Thanks for listening. I look forward to speaking with you next week.